Hello, Dwayne Barney here, discussing the business of residential construction. I'm going to continue the discussion we've been having regarding hiring an architect and what to expect. So in this video, what I'd like to discuss is cost. It's always the question, what's this guy going to cost me? She looks professional. I bet it's expensive. Again, you've never hired an architect before. You have no idea. How do they charge? By the hour? By the job? Fixed fee? Cost plus? You don't know. You've never hired one. Honestly, I've never personally hired one before myself because I've worked primarily as a contractor. So I've never hired an architect. But I do know a few things about the process. I do know what you can expect from an architect. And that's going to be everything from zoning review, wetlands review, the drawings themselves, engineers. If they have to hire outside engineers, there's going to be additional cost. If they need mechanical engineers, there'll be additional costs. It doesn't include landscape architecture. There's a lot of things that can get involved in it. You need to understand what services you want them to provide. Now, if you're doing a small garage, we mentioned the garage before, two-car garage detached. It's pretty basic. You put your cars in. You're going to need a garage door. You may need a pull-down stair, a fixed stair, whatever you want for your garage. Maybe it's a home office above. But what you need to pay for is going to largely depend on what services you want them to provide, what services you want to take on yourself. Like, I'm not an architect. What can I take on myself? Well, you could do the zoning yourself. If it requires a zoning appeal, you could go before the board yourself. You don't have to bring your architect. It could be a little challenging, but you don't need them. You can go in as the homeowner if you want to take on that role and not have those expenses passed along. Same thing with the wetlands board. You could hire the engineer independent of the architect. Then you're going to have to manage them as well. They're your hire. So you're going to have to manage the engineer and the coordination with the architect, what happens between the two. They'll talk. But you can't just leave people alone and go, look, I hired two people, they'll work it out. They don't work it out. You don't know what they're working out to your benefit. So you're going to have to manage that process. If you want to turn over the management to the architect, great. He's got architects, or engineers that he's worked with. He'll know who to call. He'll get them on board, and he knows what to ask them. So, again, it depends on what services you're going to need for your project. But understanding what services the architect can and cannot provide is the first basic step in understanding what the costs are going to be. Now, the critical question, what is it going to cost? Some of it's dependent on your jurisdiction, but for the most part, you can expect to pay between 8 at a bare minimum, and I'm talking a bare minimum at 8, to 15% of your overall project cost on the design. Now, the higher end at 15 is going to get into construction in Manhattan. A lot of regulations there. There's a lot more legwork to getting the drawings approved and to get a permit in hand. So the fees for architectural services are higher in those areas. In other areas, it's very simple, and the process is equally as simple. So the fees run accordingly. But just to give you a general idea, that's what you're going to expect to spend to have your drawings prepared for permit and for construction. If you have more questions regarding construction, read my articles below or drop me a note. I'm more than happy to try to answer every question I receive about your current project or an upcoming project that you may have. Please ask me a question. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do. Thank you very much, and we wish you success on your next project.